And welcome. This is a comprehensive news package in English. My name is Bukola Azakiso. Thanks so much for joining us. On the news, Ogun Health sector enjoys giant leaps in past 12 months. Federal government evacuates stranded Nigerians from Lebanon. Nigeria's gross domestic product grows by 1.87% in first quarter of 2020. United States imposes travel restrictions on foreigners who have been to Brazil. German Football Association may go bankrupt as COVID-19 ravages. Every accomplishment starts with a decision to try. Now the news in full. Worshipping Allah should not be restricted to during Ramadan alone, as Muslims are expected to use the principles of Islam guide their daily lives. Muslim clerics stated this while speaking with our reporter Idowu Fabajo on Live After Ramadan in Abeokuta. This reports.
This year's month of Ramadan has come and gone, and with the departure of this month, a stage of life has again passed for Muslims all over the world. But in view of the piety attached to the month, is Ramadan the only month for Muslims to live a holy life? Clerics say continuation of characteristics of Ramadan do not have a specific time. It is rather Allah's unconditional right upon people as long as they are alive.
We should understand that the major lesson of Ramadan is taqwa, fearness of Almighty Allah. So, we should all stick to all the way and livings we maintain during the Ramadan. We should all learn to endure little challenges. People with the capability to feed Muslims during the fasting period should continue doing so.
They also say, though month of Ramadan is an opportunity for faithful to relate with one another in good deeds and an opportunity to direct their souls towards holy acts and stay away from vices, yet it is incumbent on Muslims to remain on the path of righteousness even after the month.
The spiritual standard being exhibited during Ramadan, spiritual standard in the form of purification of souls, purification of body, purification of minds. So our minds should continue to be purified. The social seed planted during Ramadan must be nurtured to survival. So our life as a Muslim after Ramadan should follow that lesson that been learned during Ramadan.
Clerics also admonished faithful to remain consistent in the good deeds and keep away from things that are capable of blighting their religious life. Idowu Fabajo, Ogtv News.
President Muhammadu Buhari has said that he observed the Eid al-Fitr prayers at the State House residence because of the ravaging COVID-19 pandemic. He explained that his decision was in compliance with the measures put in place by the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19, which prohibited mass gatherings. Buhari was joined at the prayers by family members, including his wife Aisha and son Yusuf. In a brief interview after the session, Buhari urged Muslims to reflect on the lessons of the period. He said he held Eid prayers at home with his family in keeping with the protocol of the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 against mass gatherings, as well as the directive of the Sultan of Sokoto and President General of the Jamaatul Nasrul Islam (JNI), Alhaji Sa'ad Abubakar III, suspending Eid congregational prayers across the country. Buhari noted that COVID-19 was so devastating that it had reduced developing and developed countries to be on the same level. He stated that Nigerians can see that COVID-19 has reduced both the developing and developed countries to the same level. In fact, Africa have fewer casualties than the advanced countries have. President Buhari called on farmers to double their efforts in producing more food for the country by taking advantage of the rainy season. He advised farmers to go to farm and save lives so that Nigeria can produce what we need in sufficient quantity so that we don't have to import food. About 1,613 houses at the Mona Garage Internally Displaced Persons IDP camp in Maiduguri have been gutted by fire. 2 persons who sustained severe burns died from their wounds. Chairperson of the Borno State Emergency Management Agency, Yabawa Kolo, said the incidents happened on the eve of the Eid al-Fitr. Governor Babangana Zulum has visited the camp to ascertain the level of destruction caused by the fire. Zulum said the incessant fire incidences in makeshift camps further underscores why camps should be completely closed down in the state. The governor revealed that the federal government has approved the construction of 10,000 housing units across the state with the affected population in mind. He said the construction will commence immediately funds are released to bring an end to the idea of living in temporary shelters. In the first quarter of this year alone, several IDP camps in Ngazi, Ngala, Mafa, and Monguna local governments were gutted by fire as a result of the cluster settlement of the people. One of the sectors where Ogun State government has had its hands full in the last 1 year is the health sector. Despite the major challenge of COVID-19 faced by the state, its drive towards revamping the sector, however, remains solidly on track. Yusuf Ganil takes a look at the highlights of the sector in the last 1 year.
The health sector has been one of the busiest in the last 1 year of the current administration in Ogun State, witnessing development which include the improvement of facilities at Ilaru and Ijari state hospitals, as well as at Olabisi Onabanjo University Teaching Hospital, to further strengthen the healthcare system of the state.
In all, they turn around the hospital to a brand new hospital that you can even say, okay, this hospital is the way it was when it was built in the 50s. And they supplied us with new equipment, couches, examination couches, phototherapy machine, infant incubator, and so many of the other things like that.
The State Hospital Abeokuta has accreditation for some postgraduate medical training. The West African College of Surgeon just came for re-accreditation of our postgraduate training. And we also have other colleges that will still come, National Postgraduate Medical College. Also, we have accreditation in ONG to train doctors to postgraduate level.
The state also employed health workers at different areas of work to boost human capacity level of the state in the sector.
It's not just increasing the number, but the quality of the healthcare workers, actually creating capacity by training and them in governance, training them in managing the finances in the clinical care of a patient, and quality improvement projects. Those are the investments that His Excellency is looking into.
While this was on, the state recorded its first COVID-19 index case at Eweko local government area on the 27th of February, year 2020. Since the outbreak of the pandemic across Nigeria, the administration of Prince Dapo Abiodun has made concerted efforts to curb the spread of the virus.
We are on top of the situation. We are doing everything we can. We must just ensure that we do the little that we can by respecting all the rules of hygiene, as we have been told by our health professionals.
Among measures put in place is the establishment of isolation centers in Shagamu and Ikene towns, purchase of 2 molecular laboratories, walk-in and drive-through testing centers to curtail the spread of COVID-19.
We are very proud once again to be the innovative state, the innovative center in this country, and doing the best for our people.
The World Health Organization and Nigeria Center for Disease Control also visited Ogun State to ascertain the strength of measures put in place so as to work in tandem with the Presidential Task Force for COVID-19 to ensure effective containment of the virus.
Our operation is a lot sleeker and efficient. Our response continues, it's steady. The isolation centers are being equipped with the appropriate equipment, from a mobile X-ray, ultrasound, the necessary ECG. We have 12 ventilators, which His Excellency Prince Dakwa Abiodun has kindly provided for us. But we haven't stopped at that, because if you look around the world and see the research and evidence coming out from Europe, it suggests that ventilation is not really what we need. What we need is a mechanism by which you can deliver oxygen in a pressured way without having to paralyze the patient.
In all, the NCDC team sum up its findings on the current administration's response to the COVID-19 issue, which has generally affected all sectors globally.
Just seeing the centers that were visited, listening to you, listening to the FSG, really not just on the infrastructure, but on the strategy, the thinking behind it, the leadership of Her Excellency, the Deputy Governor, and just having a feel that this is not just putting brick and mortar. This is a well thought through operation that is coming out, and I have a feeling that way beyond COVID-19, there's a legacy already being left for the people of Ogun.
Ogun State government also ensured the life of more than 80,000 frontline health workers, alongside getting 300% approval in health workers hazard allowance.
I mean, when there's support and there's encouragement, and even, and there's 300% increase in the hazard allowance for the medical personnel, you realize that, I mean, no matter the enormity of the work, when you enjoy the right support, you'll be able to deliver appropriately.
Organizations continue to lend a hand to the state in fighting COVID-19. To repositioning the health sector of the state, the present administration also began to walk its talk by reconstructing 20 primary healthcare centers to reduce maternal mortality rates in the state.
For us to change the scenario and the narrative of healthcare in Ogun State, it is not the building, it is the people engaging with the building. And common ailments such as malaria, diabetes, and hypertension will be tested and treated for free at those health facilities.
The state government is also committing all resources to ensure that the 250 state specialist hospital at Okemoson, Abeokuta is ready for use soon by people of the state. Aside all this, the state government has promised much more in the sector, all geared towards repositioning the sector to meet global standards. Yusuf Ganiyu, Ogtv News.
Coronavirus cases in Nigeria increased further, with 313 cases reported by the country, despite efforts by authorities to flatten the curve of the pandemic. The new cases confirmed by the specialist agency, the Nigeria Center for Disease Control, on Twitter, took the country's total infections to 7,839, out of which 2,263 have been discharged, with 226 losing their lives. Data from the NCDC showed that the cases were spread across 12 states and the FCT, with Lagos accounting for the highest number of infections for the day, with 148 cases. 7,839 cases of COVID-19 in Nigeria, discharged 2,263, death 226. The outbreak of COVID-19 pandemic, which resulted in imposition of lockdown and shutdown of the economy, happened when everyone was least prepared for it. Commercial sector, being one of the worst hit by the lockdown, has experienced different reactions as a result of changes in the prices of commodities in the market. Matthew Shoney, in this report, takes a look at the prices of goods in the market in the face of COVID-19. His reports.
A return of buying and selling in markets across the states on another day of relaxation of lockdown, but consumers have to cope with variation in prices of commodities in the markets as the economy continues to adjust to the negative impact of the lockdown. Consumable items like rice, beans, garri, and others, being very essential to everyday survival, are the most affected by the change in price, as confirmed by some of the traders in some of the markets visited. Even though the increase in price is marginal, the people whose sources of income have been seriously affected by the lockdown may find it difficult to cope with the change in the price, the traders stated.
If you go to the price of rice for now, a plastic is sold 700 naira, like we have been buying. Then gari is 250 naira for now. Beans have 300, that is Kwewu, 500 Olunyi, and the other Olunyi Wewe is sold also at 400 naira.
In our market, the prices of commodities and markets are high, and for a reason, because if you check the way things are going on now, definitely that's how it is, and there's no means of it reducing in no time, in no short time for now, so it's high.
With a lot being done to ensure continuous food production, even during the lockdown, Commissioner for Agriculture in Ogun State, Dr. Adeola Odedino, believes the increase in prices of commodities is just for a moment.
Farmers, when we train them to produce at low cost of production, ordinarily they will drop their price. So what we want to achieve, assure everybody is that we are working hard in the Ministry of Agriculture. We are training farmers so that they can use high yield to fight high cost of production. Because some of them, actually they are increasing their price because of high cost of production. But if we train farmers in new techniques of farming that will make them produce more, they will drop their prices.
Dr. Odedino said the state is in planting season, and by the time the harvest period arrives, the prices of goods will come down. Matthew Shomi, Ogtv News.
And still to come in the news, 69 stranded Nigerian ladies arrived the country from Lebanon. More news and reports after the break. Yeah, welcome back. The news continues. The effect of coronavirus pandemic on the entertainment industry cannot be overemphasized, as it has affected the industry socially and economically. In this special report, Kunle Ibekunle takes a look at the impact of COVID-19 on the entertainment industry and the way forward. His report is presented in this package.
Almighty God, save us from this coronavirus. Oh, Father, we pray. Father, we pray. Father, we pray.
Since the outbreak of the global coronavirus pandemic in Nigeria, socio-economic growth has partly been affected and the entertainment industry is not left out. Some respondents who spoke to Ogtv News crew describe it as a dark era, as the impact is unprecedented in the industry.
It's not been easy though. It's been indoor, no shows, no clubs, nothing, no events. We are just locked down.
And it's been serious. You know, we've not been going to shows for almost 2 months now. We've been home. It's not been easy.
According to them, the pandemic is a crippling blow for the industry, and one cannot be certain about the time it will take to recover, as most of the entertainers work from home.
Our fans through the social media, through the Instagram, Facebook, and some other social platform like that. So that's the only thing we have been doing. Then we get support from corporate bodies like that, supporting us, doing some little giveaway we can do.
Adding that they are still struggling with the effect of the pandemic, as it has put the release of major musical albums to a halt.
It's been God, though. I bless God. I don't know. It's just been God. People have been blessing us. Sometimes people will call from America, bless my boys, call me and say, you bigs, give your boys some cash, you know. God has been good to us.
Because we didn't prepare for this. So now, with the help of people and God, so we have been surviving with that. So we pray to the government that we shall overcome this pandemic.
They called on all Nigerians to support the government by observing all the precautionary measures towards curtailing the spread of the pandemic.
The federal government has evacuated 69 Nigerian citizens who were stranded in Lebanon. The Minister of Foreign Affairs, Jeffrey Onyema, who made the announcement via his official Twitter handle, said they were evacuated with the support of the Lebanese government and the Lebanese community in Nigeria. Those evacuated include 50 female victims of trafficking and 19 other persons who were stranded in Lebanon. With the financial and logistic support of the Lebanese government and Lebanese community in Nigeria, 50 trafficked Nigerian girls and 19 stranded Nigerians were successfully evacuated from Lebanon and arrived in Nigeria on Monday. The federal government, as part of its effort to evacuate Nigerians who are stranded abroad due to the COVID-19 pandemic, evacuated no fewer than 300 Nigerians from the UK weeks back. A total of 160 Nigerians were also evacuated from the United States, 256 others from Dubai, and 292 from Saudi Arabia. Fatherhood is very important to the evolution of the family. The father is the leader of the home, and his role in providing a home, security, direction, identity, and provision of other materials needed for living cannot be overstated. In this special report, Ogtv News met with some couples who have been married for over 20 years to understand the role of fathers in building the home, especially in the 21st century. Ido Fabajo has the details.
They also look to their fathers to provide a feeling of security. Fathers are regarded as pillars in the development of a family's standard of living. Members of a given family look up to fathers to lay down the rules and enforce them. They also look to their fathers to provide a feeling of security, both physical and emotional, as children want to make their fathers proud, and for fathers to promote inner growth and strength. In this report, Ogtv News visited some families who have married for more than 2 decades to share their experiences on how fathers can perform their roles in the building of the family to a standard.
In the original, God placed responsibility on a man. That was why in the genesis of it all, after he created everything that we can see on the surface of the earth, he placed man in charge. The father is the priest of the home. If the father does his work very well in nurturing the children, the wife in the fear of God, the whole thing becomes reciprocal. It will be easy for the mother in the home to play her role adequately.
For a man to build the home, he has to acknowledge the sovereign God as the master builder. A father has to provide for the home as it lies in his capacity. I'm not saying he should steal or whatever, but as much as it lies in his capacity, he should provide those basic needs of a home, which are foods, clothing, and shelter. You have to love your wife, who is the mother of the children, because if they discover that you don't like their mother, you'll be creating problem for yourself. So you have to love the mother as well, show love to the children.
Although it is often claimed that a father is the head of the house, such an individual is expected to fulfill his mandate to both the mother and the children, while they also have their roles to play.
Ojúṣe obìnrin ni pé láti rí ara rẹ̀ sílẹ̀ pátápátá fún ọkọ ẹ̀. Lẹ́yìn tó bá ti rí ara rẹ̀ sílẹ̀, ọkọ á mọ ẹ̀tọ́ àti ojúṣe tó yẹ kó ṣe nínú ilé gẹ́gẹ́ bí olórí. Á jẹ́ kó rọrùn fún obìnrin kí ó ní ìtẹríba fún ọkọ rẹ̀. Nígbà tí obìnrin bá ti kọ́kọ́ ní ìfẹ́, tí ó bá wá ń tẹríba fún ọkọ rẹ̀ tí ó submit ara rẹ̀ pátápátá, a rí wípé nígbà yẹn ọkùnrin gan á ṣe kí ni, á fẹ́ràn ìyàwó rẹ̀.
So the mother and the father should be one. So when they are one, it will be easy for the mother to carry the children along. And when the children see that that moment they are the same thing, they are speaking the same language, they have no choice but to follow suit.
In the 21st century, respondents say many things are missing in the family of today, adding that fathers have a lot to do.
You have a role to play in the family, most especially as a father.
because we know for a family to stand well, you must have the fear of God first. And even the family must fear their father too, and their parents. And nowadays, we fathers and mothers, we don't have enough time. That intimate relationship is no more there. The father will leave home very early and will come back very late in the night. And before you know it, children are in bed already. And there's no cordial relationship between parents and the children. So that's what is lacking now.
Men ought to be the breadwinners. They used to be the sole model in the days when women were confined to the kitchen. But today, there are working mothers. But that does not imply that men should shirk their responsibilities of being the primary breadwinners. Idowu Fabaju, Ogtv News.
The wife of the governor of Ogun State, Mrs. Bamidele Abiodun, will on Wednesday, May 27, 2020, host the children of the state online to mark this year's Children's Day. A statement from the office of the First Lady said the virtual session necessitated by COVID-19 lockdown is necessary to celebrate the children and further give an assurance of a brighter tomorrow. The session, which will be via a video conferencing app, features children from all the 20 local government areas of the state participating in different activities that include panel discussion, quiz, talent show, music, games, among others. The event, which is in conjunction with the State Ministry of Women Affairs and Social Development, will be moderated by an on-air personality and convener of Integrity Campaign, Mr. Dari Adidotun. Meanwhile, there is a window of opportunity for children with talent or special gift to get selected for performance by sending short video samples of their skill, but not more than 30 seconds, to WhatsApp number 0705 335 6758. Similarly, the Ogun State Ministry of Women Affairs and Social Development is organizing a virtual Children's Day celebration on 27th May 2020 with the theme Promoting Girl-Child Education for Sustainable Development. According to a statement by the Commissioner, Mrs. Fumi Efuwakbe, sequel to the COVID-19 pandemic across the globe and by extension Nigeria and Ogun State, and the rule on social distancing, as well as gathering of not more than 20 persons, this year's celebration will be virtual. Consequently, the state is organizing a talent hunt for 20 secondary school students, each from the 3 senatorial districts in the state, who will participate in the following categories of activities lined up for the day: poem recitation on the theme, cultural display on COVID-19, quiz and music. The event, which will be online, will take place at Ogun Tech Hub by 8 in the morning on Wednesday, May 27th, 2020. The Lagos State government has announced its plan to partially close the Marine Beach Bridge located by Total Gas Inwards Apapa for 5 months. According to the Commissioner for Transportation, Frederick Oladeinde, this is to enable repair work on the bridge. The closure of the bridge will take effect from Wednesday, May 27 till Wednesday, October 21. Oladeinde adds that the planned repairs on the bridge by the Federal Ministry of Works is vital to the safety of the people of Lagos, especially motorists plying the route to access different parts of the state. He explained that necessary repair works have already been carried out on all alternative routes around the construction sites. Motorists in Wharf Road will be diverted to the other section of the bridge for vehicles exiting Apapa. A contraflow of 200 meters will be put in place for vehicles to realign with a proper direction inwards Ajegunle or Wharf Road, Apapa, in order to ensure that motorists descending to Total Gas under bridge will drive without any hindrance, Oladeinde said. He added that the exercise, which will entail bearing and expansion joint replacement, is planned for 2 phases, with each phase focusing on 1 lane of the bridge at a time. The Southeast Governors Forum has expressed dismay that the Inspector General of Police allegedly reneged on its agreement on practice and composition for establishment of community policing in the zone. The chairman of the forum and Ebonyi Governor, Chief David Umahi, made the disclosure at the end of its meeting in Enugu. The chairman said that the recent communication from the IGP, Mr. Mohammed Adamu, did not conform with the initial agreement reached with him during his visit to the zones. The Southeast governors and the leaders request the IGP to revert to initial agreement reached with him during his visit to the zone. The forum agreed that all Southeast State Houses of Assembly should commence the process of enacting the state security laws in line with the Southeast Joint Security Program. On COVID-19, the governors urged Igbos nationwide to stay safe and obey all directives to contain the spread of coronavirus. The Chief of Air Staff, Air Marshal Sadiq Abubakar, has charged the frontline troops of Operation Adari-Daji in Katsina State not to give bandits any breathing space in the quest to rid the state of banditry and other acts of criminality. The Air Force boss gave the charge while celebrating the festive period at the 213 Forward Operation Base. Represented by the Air Officer Commanding Special Operations Command, Air Vice Marshal Charles Owo, Air Marshal Abubakar urged them to work in synergy with other security agencies to ensure that the capacity of the bandits to carry out attacks on innocent citizens is drastically reduced. The Chief of the Air Force seized the opportunity to reel out the Nigeria Air Force achievements in the last 4.5 years, to include training of many pilots, engineers, technicians, as well as regiments and special force personnel, introduction of new platforms, and reactivation of grounded ones. A statement by NAF's Director of Public Relations and Information, Air Commodore Ibikunle Daramola, the Air Force boss reminded them to observe all government protocols on COVID-19. Air Marshal Abubakar also fretted troops deployed to Gusau in Zamfara State, Agatu in Benue State, Lafia in Nasarawa State, and Gembu in Taraba State. A UK-based airline, Flyjet, has been fined the sum of 1 million naira by the federal government for violating COVID-19 commercial flights ban regulation. The Minister of Aviation, Hadi Sirika, says the fine was the maximum penalty provided for in the country's civil aviation regulations. The federal government had banned international and local flights in the country as part of the efforts to control the COVID-19 outbreak, and only allowed essential and emergency flights to operate in the airports. Up next is business news. Thanks for joining us on the business segment of the news. Many states in the country will find it difficult to pay salaries of workers this year, as the federal government's revenue projections will be unmet. The Nigerian Economic Summit Group has said. The NESG, a private sector-led think tank, said the fiscal effect of the fall in crude oil price will be enormous, with 7 sectorial implications for the country. Nigeria, being a major dependent player in the oil market, faces a dual challenge of dwindling windfall from oil and economic construction as global lockdown continues on the back of COVID-19. The group noted that the 2020 budget of federal government was based on an oil price of $57 per barrel, which was revised to $25 per barrel. The NESG said this means that the revenue projections in the revised 2020 budget will be unmet, thereby constraining government's ability to meet its obligations, such as payment of salaries and financing critical social and infrastructure projects in the year. In the first quarter of 2020, Nigeria's gross domestic product grew by 1.87% year-on-year in real terms. The National Bureau of Statistics revealed in Nigeria's gross domestic product report for first quarter 2020 on Monday. This performance was recorded against the backdrop of significant global disruptions resulting from the COVID-19 public health crisis, a sharp fall in oil prices, and restricted international trade. The performance recorded in quarter 1 2020 represents a drop of minus 0.23 percentage points compared to quarter 1 2019 and 0.68 percentage points compared to quarter 4 2019, reflecting the earliest effect of the disruption, particularly on the non-oil economy. Quarter-on-quarter, real GDP growth was 14.27% compared to 5.59% recorded in the preceding quarter. The World Bank will take final decision in late July on a $1.5 billion loan to support Nigeria as it fights the novel coronavirus, the bank's country director has said. The World Bank is working on packages that could provide more than $3 billion to Africa's largest economy, which is facing what the lender says may be its greatest fiscal crisis in 40 years, set off by the coronavirus pandemic and resulting in oil price crash. World Bank's country director warned that Nigeria's 2016 recession sent 13 million people into unemployment. This crisis might be much more pronounced. Finance Minister Zainab Ahmed said the economy could shrink by as much as 8.9% this year. The World Bank expects Nigeria's economy to shrink between 3.2% and 8% this year. The Central Bank of Nigeria has set April 2022 deadline for Tier 1 microfinance banks to achieve 200 million naira minimum capital base. The announcement is in consideration of the impact of the coronavirus pandemic on economic activities and has revised the deadline for compliance with the minimum capital requirement for microfinance banks in Nigeria. Consequently, the CBN has extended the deadline that microfinance banks in rural, unbanked and underbanked areas, Tier 2, shall meet the 35 million naira capital threshold by April 2021 and 50 million naira by April 2022. According to the Apex Bank, microfinance banks operating in urban and high-density banked areas Tier 1 are expected to meet the 100 million naira capital threshold by April 2021 and 200 million naira by April 2022, while state microfinance banks shall increase their capital to 500 million naira by April 2021 and 1 billion naira by April 2022. In addition, national microfinance banks are expected to meet the minimum capital of 3.5 billion naira by April 2021 and 5 billion naira by April 2022. Nigerian farmers may earn over 300 billion naira from the exportation of sesame seed to the global market this year, despite the coronavirus pandemic ravaging the world. As at last year, the country was the major supplier of sesame seed to the world's largest importer, Japan, and it is the country's leading agricultural export. The country could generate about $1 billion yearly from the white and black sesame seeds if the farmers are encouraged by the government. Cashew and sesame seeds remained key crops that could drive the export diversification efforts of the federal government, given the crop's rapid acceptance at the international market. And that's business segment of the news. Now to foreign news. Kamis Rao raises fears over future of lockdown in United Kingdom. This and some foreign news after the break. Prime Minister Boris Johnson's decision to back his chief aide's lockdown trip sparks fears that the government's coronavirus message will be undermined as United States imposes travel restrictions on foreign nationals who have been to Brazil in the last 14 days. Details in this package.
Prime Minister Boris Johnson's decision to back his chief aide's lockdown trip to Durham has sparked fears that the government's coronavirus message will be undermined. Some Tory backbenchers have called